Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good lunch, depending on where you are from. Welcome to BSC News Live. Obviously, today we have Altura with us. Majd from Altura will be joining us very, very, very soon. I can see a lot in the chat as well. That's basically what you're all waiting for. So thank you very, very much. For those of you that are tuning in regularly as well, to let me do a few updates on yesterday's stream. So we're looking at Amazon NFT marketplace and trying to find an exact source for that, or Amazon saying basically they are going to launch an NFT marketplace. It all goes back to a few things that Amazon executives have said. They've hinted at certain things, but I still can't find anywhere that says we are definitely launching an NFT marketplace for Amazon. Bitcoin, again, is sort of hovering around the 22K mark. But again, there's no real change there. But the biggest news I have for you today is obviously Altura. So with that, normally we do a sort of maybe like a 10-minute overview of the market. But I think obviously there's a lot of people waiting for Majd and Altura. So we'll get right to it. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Majd from Altura. Welcome to the stream, and thank you very, very much for joining us, first of all. Would you like to introduce yourself and perhaps a little bit about the team behind Altura to kick things off?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, Tom, thank you very much for having me on BSC News. I believe I did an episode with you a few months ago, and it's a pleasure to be back. The Altura team is constantly following BSC News for the best news on the BNB chain, and we love that you guys cover the space as a whole. So we love to follow BSC News, and I'm very glad to be here. For myself, my name is Majd. I'm the founder of Altura. I've been working on Altura for almost the past 2 years. I studied computer engineering at the University of Toronto, and I've been an avid gamer my whole life. So this project really is the intersection of a lot of my passions: programming, gaming, and of course the crypto space. Altura is basically infrastructure to make it easy for game developers to seamlessly integrate Web3 technologies into their game. So that's just a very brief overview of what Altura is.
Very nice indeed. No, it's good to hear that you're a gamer yourself as well, sort of working on a gaming platform, because there's a lot of projects that I speak to who are, either building tools for Web3 game developers or, trying to develop a Web3 game themselves that perhaps haven't had, that aren't gamers themselves. So it's good to hear that you personally are a gamer. I am too. Yeah, and still am. Have been for many, many years. So yeah, thank you for the overview. I mean, it's great to hear a little bit more about the team as well. So would you be able to tell us a little bit more in depth about what Altura is, maybe also the blockchains that it supports as well?
Yeah, I just want to touch on that idea of being a gamer. I think when you actually design a product, having experience with the actual issues that that product is supposed to solve, which in this case is not only like being able to play games, but as a programmer, I've made games. So I feel like that has brought a lot of value, like my experience both as a gamer and as a former game developer, and has really led us to build a product that really suits the needs of these developers and users. As for Altura, as I've said earlier, we are an all-in-one platform that makes it very easy to integrate blockchain-backed assets and Web3 technology in video games. So our mission is to make it easy for your everyday gamer, or your Web2 gamer that isn't very familiar with the complexities of the crypto space, like smart contracts, how to execute a transaction via code, and how to build a marketplace. Our goal is to make it very easy for those kinds of people to access this incredible technology and infrastructure. In a very high level, we have 3 primary product offerings. So the first one is our integration tools. So this is our APIs and SDKs that make it very easy to read NFT data, to transfer tokens in game. So for example, you can transfer NFTs to user, you can transfer tokens in the game, and to update the actual metadata of these items. So the integration tools are designed to make it very easy for developers to actually get in and build these games without needing to learn all of the complex crypto stuff. Our second product offering is our marketplaces. So we have our main NFT marketplace, which is supposed to be a hub for gaming NFTs. And we also have our white label marketplaces, which we've actually only launched a month ago. So this allows developers to deploy their own fully branded marketplace in literally just 5 minutes with their own domain. And this is something that we're very proud of, and we'll talk about it later in the stream. Finally, our third product offering is our authentication tools. So we've identified that one of the biggest barriers of entry to the space is users actually authenticating into these games. Every game has their own kind of authentication method, and it's proving to be quite a pain point for developers and users alike. So we've introduced Altura Guard, which allows game developers to authenticate their users pretty much on any platform very easily. And Altura Guard is going to be getting a very big update that allows users to actually sign in with their social account. So this means game developers are going to allow their users to sign in via Google or Twitter or Discord auth and then have access to their NFT library. And this wallet is going to remain decentralized. So we're not actually going to be a custodian.
Mm-hmm.
There are three things that make Altura very unique, and this is kind of what we're the most proud of. The first one is our interoperability. So we are leading the standard in terms of numbers of blockchains supported for the Web3 gaming infrastructure. So we support 7 blockchains. And also going off of interoperability, we allow users or developers to actually import their collections. So if you've minted your collections outside of Altura, we recognize that especially developers in the Web3 native space want to access this infrastructure, but they've possibly already IDO'd via their NFTs, and we allow them to still use those NFTs with Altura. Additionally, NFTs created on Altura can be traded outside of Altura, so we don't lock the developer in. Additionally, continuing on with interoperability, you can use Altura with any blockchain, any marketplace, and any wallet provider. So again, we see our role as an enabler and an infrastructure to allow developers to come into the space, and we don't want to force anybody. We are also very passionate about ease of use. So that is the number one thing that we've been praised on from Unity in terms of our documentation and from developers that use our platform, is that it's incredibly easy to use. And that's something that we recognize is very important, especially for a space like Web3 where this technology is so new. Having tools that make it very easy to access this technology is incredibly important, and that's something that we care a lot about. And finally is our smart NFTs. So we are leading the space in terms of smart NFT technology, which means developers can easily update the metadata for their items completely for free, so no gas, and these updates take effect right away.
Very good. Very, very interesting indeed. I'll just sort of ask you a question about what you said sort of at the start of that answer, whereas you mentioned that the toolkit that you're creating makes it, or game development within Web3 accessible to a lot more people perhaps than it would be without the toolkit that you provide. What knowledge do you need perhaps beforehand, or do you need like a base knowledge to actually start developing a Web3 game and using the toolkit that you offer? Because I assume that perhaps a person that doesn't know anything about, obviously there'd be a bit involved in crypto and things, but do you need a sort of base knowledge to begin with to start using your tools, or is it literally from scratch? Will provide everything from the ground up, if that makes sense?
No, that does make sense, and that's a fantastic question. So right now, the current state, if you want to build a Web3 game, you not only need to know the actual tech stack that you're used to in terms of building games, so whether that be Unity and C#, or if you're making web games, that's predominantly JavaScript. You also need to know, Solidity, smart contracts, nodes, IPFS, all of this complexity. What Altura does is it abstracts away all of the crypto side. So what you do need to know is actually how to build a game, and you need to know how to program. And so, for example, if you're using our Unity SDK, you need to know C#, and you need to actually know how to build with Unity. So we don't allow non-developers to build games. That's quite the stretch. But we allow Web2 developers that are only familiar with their Web2 programming languages to build Web3 games.
I see. Yeah. So if I already had maybe a game in Unity or something, I could come along and basically, use your tools to sort of integrate it into Web3. I think
Exactly.
Very, very good. Nice. And on to a few things that you mentioned as well, a few of your tools, obviously the marketplace that you've got. So here, there's a lot of different projects offering, their NFTs and that sort of thing within the different pages. A lot of marketplaces at the moment are making royalties optional, which obviously for a number of projects that cuts off, in some cases, their whole revenue stream. Do developers and project leaders here get to decide the royalty percentage on your website? And is that fixed, or can they fix that on your platform if they wanted to use your marketplace?
That's a fantastic question. So to answer at a high level, developers can set the royalties for their collections when minting them, and then our marketplace actually fulfills those royalties. However, what I see in the space is that a lot of these mainstream NFT marketplaces like Blur and OpenSea, they're these general marketplaces, and with the nature of the actual NFT smart contracts and marketplace engines, anybody can spin up a feeless marketplace. And what this means is now, in order to actually capitalize and capture these fees, we need to provide value a little bit further than just the marketplace. And this means convenience. And we see that with a lot of things that we use in our day-to-day life, we pay for convenience. So since we can't enforce fees on every marketplace, the way we're going to allow these developers to still receive their fees is via the white labels. So players would much rather click a link in the game, be directed to the game's fully branded and owned marketplace that continues that experience, and then there's a higher chance that there's going to be a conversion of fees, since we're sort of bringing the marketplace closer to the user and making it a very natural and convenient part of the gameplay. Additionally, what we foresee is that taking that a step forward, we're going to release SDKs that allow you to actually build and embed these marketplaces directly in the game. And so, for example, you won't have to leave the game at all. You'd open up a menu in the game, and then you'll be able to trade these items, and that's where the developer will capture these royalties. And so, although we can't enforce royalties on all of the marketplaces, and there's always going to be feeless marketplaces, the way we still allow these developers to generate revenue is through convenience in terms of where the marketplace is positioned.
Very good. Yeah, I talked to another project who are doing the same sort of thing, and I do agree with you about marketplaces essentially being native within that project or that website. I think the project that we had on a few days ago was Froggy Friends, and they do the same sort of thing. They haven't, I don't think, built it themselves. They outsourced it to a company or project like yours. And yeah, I do agree. Sort of having your own internal marketplace with customized royalties and things.
Right.
Yeah, very, very good. And one of the things that you mentioned as well, I'll just make sure that I get the name right, is Altura Guard, which is the little tagline: easily authenticate users. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about that and what it is and what it does at all?
Right, absolutely. So the current state of Altura Guard, basically, let's say you want to build a desktop game. There are no native desktop wallets. So for example, MetaMask, they don't have a desktop application for MetaMask. So how would you seamlessly authenticate a user in a desktop game? What Altura Guard does in its current state is offset the authentication to the browser. So the user would connect their wallet on our marketplace or the game's native white label marketplace, and then they'd receive this little code. The game would prompt them for that code, the user would input that code, and then our APIs would return the user's wallet address. So now all of a sudden you have a way to actually verify that a user owns an address without needing to basically directly have them sign a transaction on the actual application. Maybe that's a little bit complicated.
I understand completely. Yeah, but because I do that there's one Web3 game that I used to play that was a desktop application. And what it would have to do is keep on sort of going back to a browser, and then the browser would open up MetaMask. And then I'm pretty sure that it wasn't compatible with Ledger. And it was a bit, I keep on having to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, I mean, your solution, well, it sounds needed, basically. Yeah. And you mentioned, oh, sorry, Karen, did I cut you off?
Oh, no worries. I just wanted to touch on, the fact that Altura Guard is actually getting an upgrade, which is going to make it even 10 times more powerful. So in the current state, I know that's quite the claim. In the current state, you need to actually still have a wallet for this solution to work. So you need to have signed up for MetaMask and connected it to our marketplace. But that poses another issue, which is that millions of Web2 developers don't want to actually manage their own wallet and deal with that hassle. So Altura Guard is going to actually be a social login solution where the game developer is going to allow their users to sign in via Google. And then we're going to use basically create a wallet for that user. And it's going to be a multi-sig wallet, and it's going to be 3 key sharded. So basically, we won't actually be able to spend the NFTs of this user, and we'll provide that wallet address to the game developer. The game developer can then use our APIs to basically push transaction requests where the user can then accept those transactions on our marketplace, where they'd also be able to sign in with their Google account. So in terms of the user experience, they'd sign in with Google on our marketplace, sign in with Google on the game. And then if the developer wants the user to send an NFT, they'd receive a little prompt on the browser asking them to accept the transaction.
Very good. And how much of that process or data is sort of kept on chain as well? Because a purely browser-based Web3 game, perhaps you could have a lot of it of those sort of sign-in details on chain. But then when you add the email part of it, obviously Google email, that's always going to be on some server somewhere. I'm not sure. So how much of that process is on chain, and is the user's email, I mean, can the user change their email? Because there's one game that I play, which is different to the one that I was talking about before, where you can't change your email once you sign up with that email, and that email is forever sort of linked to that soft wallet address. Would you be able to tell us, sort of how much data is, on chain, and a bit more maybe how it works and things?
So that is correct. The wallet will be tied to that particular social login, so Gmail. So if you want to create a new Gmail account, it's gonna result in a new wallet being created. The reason for that is because with this multi-sig feature, 1/3 of the key is actually generated with the token that is sent back by the social login provider. So when you use sign in with Google, Twitter, Discord basically send a token to our system, and that token is actually used as part of the key.
It's clever.
Yeah, so that's why it's so intimately linked. But it's a very unique solution, and we think that this is the future of wallets, and this is basically how we're going to bring wallets to the mainstream of Web2.
No, that's good. Yeah, and I do think, sort of bringing what you say about bringing the mainstream from Web2 to Web3, things like using an email login and just making it a lot more simple for the masses, because to use things like MetaMask, obviously ourselves and all the listeners and viewers and things, it could be perhaps second nature to us. But if you sort of remember back, the first time you ever used DeFi, it is quite confusing, and I'm sure it does put a lot of people off. So for mass adoption, using Google or Gmail login, that sort of thing, that's the way to go. So thank you once again for your in-depth answer. A question that I've got as well is, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about how you enable developers to deploy their own fully customizable marketplace? Obviously, we did touch on it a little bit before, sort of a native marketplace, within their website and things. But what tools can you give to developers that can enable them to have their own marketplace on their website? So I know there's at least 2 sort of NFT developers watching at the moment. So you can feel free to get a bit more technical than perhaps you do with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to give a demo in that case. So
please do. Yeah. Share your screen. Go ahead.
All right.
Oh, I'll just bring it up on the screen.
Actually, I'm gonna stop sharing here just for one.
No problem.
Sign into my wallet. All right, cool.
And let me know when you're ready for me to click the little add to stream thing, and
add source.
It'll appear.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Okay, cool. So this is our developer dashboard, and this is basically where developers can manage their projects and deploy their white label marketplaces. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. We'll just call it my project. I think we've already created those a bunch, so I'll call it my project 56. We'll go into this, and then here we can link our collections. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll link the hatchables, since I own the wallet that has these collections and the penguins. So we link them. I'm going to refresh. Link the hatchables. Okay, perfect. So if we go to the custom marketplace, here I'm going to start my free trial. And you can see right away, if I click visit marketplace, we have our own marketplace for the Altura penguins and the hatchables. So in 5 minutes, we've deployed our own marketplace. I can say custom logos. So I'm just going to go ahead and look for an image. Search for BSC news. So I'll take this banner. We'll use this as the logo. and we'll use this as the banner. So if I go here, I can add our logo, I can add the banner, and then here we can add custom links to the navigation bar. Here we can add a custom domain. So if you want to completely do it, your own domain, so like marketplace.bscnews.com, you could do that. And then here it shows the active network is BSC, and that's just because the collections that I linked are BSC. But the really cool thing is if you link collections across different blockchains, that marketplace will fully become a multi-chain marketplace. You can even add custom currencies. So if BSC news happen to have their own token, you could actually import that, and then players could buy, sell, and trade those NFTs in that token. We plan to add a lot more customization features, but right now we have these 10 presets. So I'll go ahead and choose the dark one, and you can see if I refresh, all of our changes take place. So in literally 5 minutes, I created my own marketplace. And this is just the beginning of this product, so it's going to really evolve. And like I said, you'll be able to basically embed this in the game itself, and you'll be able to use our SDKs to fully create custom marketplace experiences in the game.
That was good. That was very, very quick, like very quick. And I didn't realize that, yeah, it seems that like even I, not saying that I'm a crypto noob, but I don't really know much about, game design, Solidity. Obviously, this isn't really game design, Solidity, that sort of thing, but that was very easy to implement. Thank you. A question that we've got in the comments as well. Obviously, it came up on the screen that it's a free trial, and so what would the do you have a pricing package or like a pricing structure about how much it costs to run and maintain your services?
Right, that's a great question. So if you were to build your own fully custom marketplace, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars and many, many hours of development. So it could run you, like $300,000 in resources. With Altura, we charge $399 a month. But for our partners that are basically, that we collaborate with and that we want to push their games, we're happy to give them an extended free trial.
And I assume $399.
Yes, a month.
Fine. I thought for a second you meant like $399 as in just like $4, and I thought, whoa, okay, yeah. Fine, no, good. Yeah, that is good. And I think because that amount you'd pay maybe per hour or maybe 2 hours for a decent Solidity developer, or web developer. And also it's the thing about sort of trust in Web3 as well. You don't perhaps want to be giving a person access to a collection of NFTs and that sort of thing that you don't really know. So I think for that price, personally, I think that's not much at all. So
go and deploy your marketplace.
Yeah, it's and you said that it's only at the sort of beginning stage. However, it is very, very customizable. I wouldn't really know what other things perhaps I'd want to do with a marketplace, because obviously you've got the banner, you could choose the different themes and that sort of thing. And I think you could probably even do it if you're really trying hard under a minute. If you had everything ready to go. It's very impressive. Thank you very much. And a few more questions as well about Altura. So recently you made the announcement that you were a Unity verified solution. So yeah, congratulations. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about this, but also what are the implications of this for Altura and also perhaps the industry as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. So Unity coming in, introducing a completely new section to their asset store, a decentralized section. And just to step back a little bit, they really only have a handful of different tabs on their asset store. So they have like web VR, they have 3D graphics, and now they introduced a whole section for decentralization. And what this means is that Unity understands and knows that there's a lot of interest in the Web3 space as a whole. So basically, this is a signal that there is a lot brewing under the hood, and there is truly innovation that's happening in the Web3 industry, and that there's a lot of demand from small, medium, and large-sized developers and game developers to actually utilize this technology and bring Web3 assets into their game. So I think this is a huge win for the entire industry, and it's a huge validation that that there's demand and that these institutional players are really taking us seriously. This also basically gives the green light to developers to the millions of developers that use Unity to build their games every day to come into the Web3 space. So Unity is like pretty much head to head with I forgot the other one, but basically they're one of the largest game development platforms, and they have millions of developers. You've probably played a Unity powered game at some point in your life. Probably.
Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll get on to that. Sorry, yeah, carry on. Sorry.
No worries. I think I know where you're going with that. I believe it's the Dr. Disrespect thing, maybe.
No, but I'll let you finish completely. No. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah. So basically, this gives the green light for developers to come in, and it's basically Unity saying, "Hey, the water's fine. There's actual, utility, and that this technology, we see it becoming big." I don't want to put words in Unity's mouth. That is my words, so I want to make that clear. But yeah, it adds validation to the space. Additionally, it puts Web3 solutions in the eyes of millions of developers. So now basically you can go onto the Unity Asset Store, click download, and all of a sudden you have this entire package in your game that allows you to bring NFTs in very easily. So we believe that this is going to bring millions of developers to come into the space just because now it's part of the platform that they use every day to build their games. Altura was chosen as only one of 13 Web3 solutions to join this, become a verified solution, with the likes of Solana, Tezos, and Consensus. So again, one of 13, and I believe we're only one of 3 game development solutions that Unity has listed, or gaming, Web3 gaming infrastructure. So for example, MetaMask is also on that list. They're a wallet, Solana is a blockchain, Tezos is a blockchain, etc. What this also means for Altura is that Unity has vetted our solution from top down. So they checked our Unity SDK for stability. So they made sure that developers using our Altura and using the Unity SDK can be rest assured that it's reliable. They tested it that it can be easily integrated. So again, very easy to use Altura, very easy to install it and plug it into your game. And this has been something that Unity audited and vetted for. They also tested it for being smooth. So this means that Altura just fits right into the Unity editor, which you've basically been using to build your games all the time. So you open up Unity, the editor, all of a sudden there's fetch NFT metadata, transfer NFT. This is very enabling to these developers. They've also tested it for accessibility, which means that Altura and particularly our Unity SDK can be used by all kinds of developers, beginners, intermediates, and professionals to build the smallest of indie games to massive enterprise titles. They also assured that the SDK and the solution as a whole is going to be dynamic, which means that it's just going to keep getting better and that our team is dedicated to continuing to work on our platform and the Unity SDK.
Wow, that's brilliant. What I was going to say as well is about Unity. There's a lot of people that say, well, Unity is only made for learning game design, building indie games. However, the game, well, I play a lot of a game called Escape from Tarkov, which is huge, and it is a AAA game. If you just do a bit of Googling on just YouTube it, you'll be able to see what you can create with Unity. I think there's some people have sort of got stuck in their minds that Unreal is for like these massive, huge games, and then Unity is for sort of small stickman games. But yeah, it's entirely, in my opinion, false. Do you think that there is a sort of divide between Unreal and Unity? Because from what I've seen, obviously Epic Games and Unreal sort of go to an extent hand in hand. When you launch the Epic Games launcher, you've pretty much got Unreal there. There's a few games that have been launched using Web3 technology that have launched on the Epic Store as well. Do you think that there is a divide between Unreal and Unity and sort of C++ and C# developers? And do you think they're essentially going to split off in 2 directions and become more divided? Or do you think that Unity and Unreal, I don't know, to an extent could work together in the future?
Honestly, I don't. I think that they both enable the development of games, and they've both appealed to different audiences very well, and they've both obviously been incredibly successful in their technology and what they're doing. I believe they almost have 50-50 market share, so clearly there's demand for both. As for a continued divide, I'm honestly not sure how that is going to continue in the future. But I do think that both both companies are going to embrace Web3 to its totality, because this is a technology that can't be dismissed or basically ignored at all. So I would say, they appeal to different kinds of developers. They're both incredibly powerful technologies.
Indeed. Thank you. I used to teach, I think this was, well, quite a few years ago now, but I used to teach computer science. I was not as good as you are at all, though. And one of the parts of what I taught was Unity. But again, it's not a scratch on what you can do. We made these little Lego games from a template, and that's about as far as I went. It was good. And I'll be really interested after this. I haven't actually had Unity on my computer for ages, but to see the sort of, Altura working within Unity. So yeah, after that, I'm going to load it up and have a go. Which is exciting stuff. And also the other partners that Unity, I've forgotten the term, Unity approved.
Verified solution.
That's it. Yeah, the other Unity verified solutions are huge players in the crypto world. MetaMask, Solana, amazing. Really big stuff.
Immutable. Yeah, there's some heavy hitters, and we're very proud to be on the same kind of pedestal as all these massive players. And it really goes to show how how much we care about our actual product and providing a good experience to the developer and user, because there's so much fluff in the space, and having this kind of seal of approval or stamp from a company as big as Unity really adds a lot of credibility to us, which is why we're so excited about this move.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. Another thing that I'm interested in as well is smart NFTs. Update NFTs gas-free and instantly. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about that and what that is?
Yes. So using Altura, you can update the actual image of the NFT. So for example, if you think of Counter-Strike, I used to play a lot of Counter-Strike, and honestly, that kind of led a large part of Altura's inspiration and vision. But in Counter-Strike, there are weapons that have stat track, which is basically a counter on the weapon that counts the number of kills that you have. And the current state of NFTs and the technology as it is doesn't seamlessly allow for this kind of updating of metadata. So Altura makes the ability to update the image and properties of NFTs incredibly easy. So with 3 lines of code, fetching an NFT, and then pushing an update to its metadata, you can achieve this using Altura.
Fantastic. Good. So all that is stored in the metadata. And do you, again, I'm not really 100% sure how this works, but do you sort of own the storage for the backend metadata?
Great question. So yes, the metadata is stored on our centralized server, but the way we've basically been able to get around this and ensure developers and users that their NFTs are actually, preserved, is that periodically we append the entire database of metadata to IPFS. So we have that centralized mutatable version of the metadata that is, very easily editable, and that's what the NFT token is pointing to. But again, we provide a historical copy in a decentralized file storage. So if Altura was to ever go down for whatever reason, which we won't, the developer can easily change the URI on the contract to point to IPFS, and all of the metadata will be preserved.
Amazing. Zero downtime.
Yeah.
Sounds great. A question that's just popped up in the chat that is interesting. I don't know, if it's true or not. It's easy to, have rumors circulating in crypto, and obviously, with your success with Unity, I don't know how true this is, but person says, I heard Altura are developing Unreal Engine SDKs. Are you doing that?
We have plans to, but we have not initiated it. We have a few other things that we want to get out the door, like the updated Altura Guard, some other things, but we absolutely have plans to, and very high chance that we'll push that out before the end of the year.
Wow. And for individuals that are building, let's just stick with Unity, building in Unity and want to, have Web3 parts of their game. Yeah, they want to integrate NFTs and integrate Web3 within their game. What are the steps that perhaps they'd need to take to use Altura? Would they need to, contact you on their website, or would they just, go on your website and click developer and then docs? And what would be the best steps for them to do?
Yeah, great question. So you do not need to get in touch with our team to use Altura. we are more than happy to schedule a demo. So if you see the contact sales button on our landing page, you can set up a call and we'll walk you through the entire platform. But to get started, you just click on Get Started on our landing page, and that's going to direct you to our documentation. And from there, it guides you through everything. So it talks about creating a project on the developer dashboard, installing the actual SDK that you want to use. And from there, it's just very easy. So look at the docs, install the SDK, whether that be the JavaScript or Unity SDK, or if you're building outside of the web or Unity, you can use the API. And then you can literally just get started.
Amazing. And this question is probably just because I haven't been through your developer documents enough, but do you support chains that are not EVM compatible? So do you, I don't know, say a person was building on Solana, would you support that? And do you support chains that aren't EVM compatible at the moment?
We do not. So the only changes that we support are Ethereum, BSC, Avalanche, Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism. There's one more blockchain, but they're all EVM chains.
I personally think EVM is the future. I can't see anything in the future beating Ethereum or EVM. Obviously, there's a lot of people that would disagree, and that's fine. Do you have plans to support chains that aren't EVM at all? For example, like Solana?
So we are definitely going to continue to stay adaptive and responding to the changes in the industry. So if there is a blockchain that seems to be gaining popularity for game developers, we're going to absolutely jump on that. As for right now, we've seen the reward to actual cost / investment in integrating Solana not worth it for us. So we've just found that the majority of development is happening on other chains other than Solana, and the cost to actually build non-EVM infrastructure is not worth capturing those developers. But if that was to change, we will absolutely integrate those blockchains. There are two chains that we are excited to be rolling out very soon, and that is Kronos and IMX on Altura.
Very cool. Yeah, Kronos has a near, I think, well, I don't mean this in any offensive way to any of the Crow fam out there, but a near cult-like following in a lot of the US. So yeah, that should be very exciting. Indeed. No, it's great to hear that you are keeping up, rolling out all these new updates all the time. And sort of changing topic slightly to the whole of the Web3 gaming space. Web3 was huge, perhaps. Web3 gaming was, a lot of people were talking about it, especially the term play to earn before the recent bear cycle. But then a lot of people realized, well, the term and also the concept of play to earn needs people always putting money in for there to be essentially taking money out, which is just incredibly basic economics. And sort of since then, there's been a slight, in the last maybe, well, it's picking up now, but a slight lull in GameFi, but I'm sure that will pick up again very soon. But in your opinion, where do you think the future of Web3 gaming is? I mean, for me, what would be really, really good is things like, for example, CSGO skins, if they were NFTs, because people basically, do trade them anyway. You could have them, not just tied to your Steam account or whatever, but you could actually have them, on your own wallet. So items like that in game, that would be fantastic, I think, use for NFTs. But in your opinion, where do you think the whole of, Web3 gaming as a whole is going? And also, what are the uses for Web3 in gaming that we could see perhaps in the future?
This is my favorite question to answer, high-level industry question. So I think, one, we're going to see much better games come out. NFTs, Web3 technology has only kind of been known to the masses for about 2 years now. But high quality games and really value in general takes a lot longer to be created than 2 years. So really, we are in the absolute infancy and primal stages of this industry. And it is very similar to the .com bubble or the AI boom, where people recognize that this technology is very valuable, that the idea of being able to own something digitally and basically have a piece of the game that you're playing is incredible industry changing technology. But the actual development hasn't nearly caught up to people's excitement. And that's kind of what we've seen over the past 2 years. A big boom and sort of bust just because, we jumped on this technology prematurely before the proper infrastructure was built. And I also think that we're going to start seeing a lot more infrastructure and solutions that actually enable, game developers that have been building games for decades to actually come into the space in a way that makes sense. So those two factors, just time, giving the space time to build proper games, and the infrastructure and the groundwork for these developers to come into the space is going to propel much larger and better games to come out over the coming months and years. Additionally, I think we're going to see much better user experience. So again, this is a new industry, and usually something that lags behind in such a new technology is user experience. That's why we've seen horrible interfaces, hard to interact with games, and I think that this is going to change very quickly. Just again, this kind of stuff just takes time. I also think that we're going to start seeing standardized, and another reason why I believe we're going to start seeing much better user experience is we're going to have standardized solutions. So standardized solutions to create games, standardized solutions to actually interact with these games. Because if you think of the games that we've played over the past few months and over the past year, each game is so unique in the way that you interact with it. Like one game could require you to use this particular wallet, could work this way, and then this other game, it requires this weird way of signing transactions or interacting with the game. And this is, again, a lack of standardized tools and solutions to enable developers to build Web3 games. Altura being on the Unity Asset Store is going to really help with standardization for developers. And that's going to allow for much improved user and developer experiences. I also think sustainable models for games is going to be a huge kind of benefit to having better user experiences. So like you said, we've seen a lot of play to earn and play and earn games, and that model simply isn't sustainable. And we've kind of got it backwards. So we have the emphasis on actually constantly earning and having our items just go up in value, and the emphasis should be on a really good user and gameplay experience and an enjoyment of that game. And the assets and the ability to own these assets is kind of a plus, or expands the game, but isn't the sole and main focus. And I think that's where we're going to see the industry trend. Additionally, I think Web3 and Web3 gaming has the potential to expand the gaming industry as a whole. So I really do believe that this technology is going to, be a lot bigger and have a much larger impact on the gaming industry than any of us can even comprehend or foresee. And the reason I say this is because this is going to enable new monetization and much larger monetization options for these game developers and studios. And this means that the gaming industry as a whole is going to be a much more lucrative industry, and we're going to see much larger players and companies come into the space and put out more experiences. I also think the ability to own your items and own your assets and be able to freely trade them is going to allow, or is going to enable developer users to be a lot more engaged with the experience. So when you can actually play a game for 3 hours and have something to show for it that actually has value, you're going to be a lot more engaged with that experience. So we're going to see, users want to play these games more, be more excited about these games, be more engaged, and developers able to make a lot more money on secondary markets. And this is going to really result, I believe, in the gaming industry expanding to heights that we can't even foresee. I also think it's going to result in a much larger esports scene. So for example, let's say you're playing, you're watching a battle royale game, and somebody unlocks a loot box and they find a $10,000 item, an item that's actually worth $10,000, but they have to, see it through till the end of the battle royale, make it as the last person standing for them to actually claim that item. You can just imagine the audience is going to be so engaged and cheering on for that user to actually stay alive. And actually staying alive is going to have real world monetary impact. So that's another reason why I think this industry is going to expand. I talked a lot, so I want to summarize my points. One, I think we're going to see much better games come out, much more better experiences. I think we're going to see much better user experience and developer experience. And I think we're going to see that Web3 technology, makes a much larger impact than we could imagine.
Yeah, that was one of the best answers I've heard. Thank you. And yeah, what you said about, in a battle royale scenario, picking up an item that actually has real life value. I can imagine my heart would just go mad, because even in playing like a battle royale type game now, if I'm sort of in the final 10 or something, I'm sweating. But then if I had, say, this 10 grand item, it would be it'd be intense. And when do you think, but when perhaps do you think we'll be able to see huge gaming houses like EA Rockstar start to integrate Web3? And why don't you think that has happened yet? And do you think, the huge, massive players will adopt Web3
Mm.
eventually?
In terms of will, absolutely. I think that there is too much, to put it bluntly, too much money to be made off secondary markets for these game developers to not take advantage. I mean, EA loves microtransactions. This is the perfect industry for them.
Mm.
In terms of when, I actually think it's going to happen a lot sooner than we all anticipate. So, and in terms of why they haven't, I mean, that's quite the assumption. I believe that they have, and we know that these massive corporations internally are talking and planning to position themselves in the Web3 space. We know that for sure, and this is not something that hopefully in 5 years we'll see a massive title come into the space. They're right now internally talking about how we can actually get into this industry and position ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. So I've just got ideas in my head. Like, I don't know, in GTA 6, you can go on the BMW website and buy a BMW. Well, obviously not. Well, you could buy a real life BMW if you wanted, but you could buy an NFT of the BMW that would then be in your GTA 6 game. Yeah, there's lots of things that can be done. And I think the point that you mentioned about microtransactions, that entirely passed my mind before. Yeah, you brought it up. A very good point. Thank you so much for going into great depth about Altura. I've certainly learned a lot, not just obviously about you and Altura, but Web3 gaming as a whole. Is there anything that I've not asked you at all that you'd like to bring up or discuss at all before we say cheerio?
No, I think we a very fruitful conversation. I think we covered most of the ground.
Most certainly. Well, once again, it's been so interesting. It really, really has been, and it would be good again, maybe to catch up in a few months, see how things are going, catch up about Web3 gaming, that sort of thing. But yeah, once again, thank you very, very much for your time, and yeah, thank you for being here. And I do look forward to the future of Altura, and congratulations again on being a Unity verified solution. I think that's very, very impressive indeed. Congratulations, and yeah, thank you very, very much again, Majid. It's great to have you here.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me, Tom. I really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to coming on BSC News again.
Thank you. See you soon. Fantastic. So obviously that was Majid from Altura. Very, very interesting discussion indeed. I learned a lot there, and I hope you did too. We're live every weekday, 7 p.m. UTC on YouTube, Twitter, and also Twitch, Rumble, and Trovo as well. Before we go, I'd just like to mention our sponsor for these events, which you can probably have guessed is Bloxroot. They offer the product BSC Protect, and what that does, it stops you getting front run and also defends you from sandwich attacks. All you need to do is add a custom RPC URL. And to do that, you just need to scan the QR code there. And it'll automatically add this custom RPC URL for the BNB chain to your MetaMask, and you won't get front run. And it's very easy to get front run if you use the incorrect slippage. But sometimes you do need to use high slippage, maybe if the token's new and there's high volatility, if there's a tax and you're unsure what the tax is. So using this custom RPC URL, it will prevent you from getting front run and also sandwich attacks. Also, if you go to bsc.news, we've got a whole list of different RPC URLs, and you can add them to your MetaMask with just one click. But saying that, thank you very, very much, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you very, very much for all the comments as well. Yeah, we had some really, really interesting, insightful comments, questions, that sort of thing. So please do join us 7 p.m. every weekday, YouTube, Twitter, that sort of thing. And yeah, keep up the viewing, keep up the comments. And once again, the conversation with Altura was very, very interesting. And I hope you enjoyed it as well. You seem to have done from the comments.